Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Issues with Wrestling. This week, we're talking about something that they say you shouldn't talk about: politics, religion. We're talking politics. As always, I'm Christopher Miles, and this week joining me is someone that knows something about politics and wrestling. He is the host of the Q Now show on the local Fox News radio affiliate here in St. Louis, and he is a professional wrestler with MMWA. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduced the Gen X icon, Mark Bland. Mark, thanks for being here, buddy.
Hey, what's going on, Chris? Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Hey, when I thought this topic up, I thought you were the perfect person for it. There was really nobody else that popped into mind to do this. So the first question I have for you about politics and wrestling and angles is, what is so appealing to the wrestling audience and wrestling culture about political angles?
I think that all right, great stories, right?
Yeah.
A good political angle is just like professional wrestling. This is why Donald Trump was so successful working with a Vince McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
Simply the idea of create a good guy, have a bad guy, let them fight it out. One of them is going to come out on top. Sometimes the villain wins. And what is the villain? Well, it depends on your point of view.
True.
It depends on who you want to be in this world. So sometimes Donald Trump's the villain, but sometimes to other people in other thought and processes, he's the hero. And it's just this idea. And here's the real problem. This is where the problem becomes. It's legitimately offline, right? In the real world, professional wrestling feels like good guy, bad guy, right?
Yes.
Because of the way it is created. But with politics, there really is a good guy and there really is a bad guy.
Depending on who you ask.
I hate to say it like that. Once again, it's all about politics. But in the end, you can see like Bill Clinton didn't get arrested and go to jail. George Bush didn't get arrested and go to jail. Republican also. Dick Cheney didn't get arrested and go to jail. A lot of other people didn't arrested and go to jail that were in these positions of power, but guess who did get arrested? He didn't go to jail yet, but I'm just saying who did. Donald Trump did. So using that as an example, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, not knocking Donald Trump right now, just using him as an example in this situation.
Yeah,
because
it's relevant.
There is one politician in America that we can all agree that we identify with politics as well as professional wrestling. It's probably Donald Trump.
So,
because of his Hall of Fame background and all that in WWE.
Before I bring in our second voice, then I want to ask you this important question about Donald Trump and wrestling. Do you think without the WWE audience, Donald Trump could have gotten elected?
I wouldn't say that he couldn't get elected.
Yeah.
I feel like going into the 2016 election specifically, a lot of people weren't paying attention to the Republicans behind the scenes. And I feel like at the end of the day, Donald Trump might have gotten still voted in like that way. I think they might have caught him off guard. I don't think it hurt by any means whatsoever. Like, it definitely helped. There was a lot of people who helped by voting for him through that world of the WWE. And by the way, these are people that when in 2007, 8, 9, when they're watching Donald Trump and Bobby Lashley shave Vince McMahon's head and all this other stuff at these WrestleManias, now 10 years have gone by. They're not 8 anymore. Now they're 18. So they've known Donald Trump all this time. They understand who he is, and they've known him since they were 8, 10, 11, 12. Do you see what I'm saying? Now they're 18 to 22, 23, and they're voting for this man because they just know him.
Yes,
that's it.
Familiarity.
And they've known him like a character from Sesame Street, the way you and me know about Oscar the Grouch. That's how they know about Donald Trump.
I agree, but I'm going to bring in another voice on that. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of St. Louis Wrestling, the voice of Dynamo Pro, Chris Rodell. Chris, how are you, buddy?
How's it going, guys?
Good.
You all doing good?
Good. So I have the same question I had for Mark for you. What about political angles is so appealing to wrestling and the wrestling audience?
Because it appeals to the lowest common denominator of wrestling fans. I mean, I hate that word lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're in a state like Arkansas or Indiana or any red state, you come in with a Trump flag, you're good. This brings me back. This brings actually me back to a Cinco de Mayo festival we did several years ago, and there was a big Trump piñata, and Adrian Surge came in and was like, he was for Donald Trump all the way. And I don't know what his political leaning really is, but he was so massively booed that they literally had to, security had to be around Adrian Surge the entire time.
Okay. So, Chris, I'll go to the next question for you first. What is your first political memory or angle memory in wrestling?
Ooh. I mean, I'm old. I'm old. I'm not quite the Gen X icon, but
who is?
I really just I just recently watched the Iron Sheik documentary on from AEW or not AEW A&E. And
that would be the one for me. That would be my answer, just because it was like 82, 83 when that's all going on.
Yeah.
But you also think the Sergeant Slaughter is probably the Sergeant Slaughter when he turned and was an Iraqi sympathizer.
Yes.
It's probably the first one that I truly remember.
Okay. See, I remember the Evil Russians. I remember Nikolai and Nikita and all those guys. And looking back and realize
that's like 85, 86, 87 when we get to that. Like that's after the Sheik, but that's prior to Sergeant Slaughter kind of coming in at 89, 90, 91.
As the bad guy for the
right.
This is talk.
So I mean, for me it was the Russians, and to learn later that like, Nikita Koloff was a guy named Scott from Minnesota really really threw me for a loop,
You gotta love pro wrestling. Did you see that? Like, you're like, Scott from Minnesota. If you ever like, hey, and here comes Nikolai Volkov and Scott from Minnesota. Like,
wasn't Barry Darso's name
Crusher Khrushchev?
Crusher Khrushchev before he became Smash?
Yes.
I mean, that's just stupid.
And then like, okay, so
but at the times it worked.
Yes, it did. It probably still. I mean, Rusev was the Evil Russian, even though he's Bulgarian a couple years ago.
Sure, yeah.
But like the changing politics of the world can change wrestling too. Because I remember even The Simpsons making fun of the fact that all of the Evil Russians in the 80s, in 1991, when the Iron Curtain fell, suddenly became good guys. Nikita Koloff was teaming with Sting, and Nikolai was teaming with Hacksaw Duggan. So I mean,
but isn't it weird that today, and I hate to cut you off like that. I wasn't trying to but I didn't want to put a pin in this before I forgot. Isn't it weird that today, right now, we are in the middle of this Ukraine war where we have got Vladimir Putin looking like the evil dictator of another country that is trying to destroy, and no wrestling companies really tagging into any of that or even trying to play. And I feel like that I know why. We have finally gotten to a point where the stories that are in the books are equally as funny, entertaining, or crazy and over the top as what's going on offline. They're not grabbing anything from the real world and bringing it over here. They don't need to anymore. It all looks one and the same. But the storyline with Roman Reigns looks just as crazy and over the top as Vladimir Putin.
But is that possibly because wrestling companies are afraid that, hey, we don't want to go too far this way, too far this way. We kind of want to stay here, and you don't want to like upset the apple cart. I mean,
is this the social media aspect of the world in 2023 now? Everybody has to be on eggshells a little bit.
Yes. Let's look at the Muhammad Hassan angle. The angle where you had a guy that was
that was a great angle, actually.
Yeah, you had a guy who was who was pretending to be Islamic, even though he's an Italian guy, but he was pushing forward this narrative of the post 9/11 hysteria about behind Islamic people, and then he forms his own little terrorist cell and basically kills the Undertaker on the same day of the London bombings, and they don't pull that, and they got so much crap for that. So do you think that they're almost scared to be political at this point anymore?
You have to be scared. You have to be scared to be, I mean, do we remember that that the WWE had like Ace Steel portray Donald Trump and some
we'll get there.
Okay, we're gonna get there. Okay,
Oh, the rodeo down.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll get there.
So I mean, so Mark, do you think they should be scared? Is PC-ness something that should be worried about with political angles, or should it be all no
I
holds
don't
barred?
think that should matter in pro wrestling. I think pro
Okay.
wrestling has shown from day one. Okay, in the way that we always say, hey, when it comes to comedy at the comedy club, like the Funny Bone,
Hmm.
I think that true comedy should kind of have the gloves off, kind of have no handcuffs on it. I think true comedy should be allowed to be what it is in those private places for those crowds that are there to watch it. That's fine. Pro wrestling's kind of the same thing. It's its own world. It's kind of always been over the top and crazy. Should they be scared of this? No. Nope. I feel like this is something that they can broach. Now, it's maybe Rusev was a little too early. If there's any like thing that I can like tap into, AEW could be using this to their advantage right now, right? Isn't Rusev under contract with AEW currently?
Yes,
They
he
could be
is.
using
Yes.
this to they could come up with a different character or whatever, and they could be going down this road, right?
Mhm.
Or WWE just was a little ahead of the curve. They hit it 5 years too early. That's all there is to it. Like
you
I don't
literally
think we
had
should be scared
Sergeant
of it.
Slaughter. You had Sergeant Slaughter be an Iraqi sympathizer as the war was declared with Iraq.
Yeah.
I mean,
in a time where you played your character all the time.
right?
I mean,
And
Slaughter was
Hassan, like you said,
potential.
was literally during that
The London bombing.
the Iraq War in 2003, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
So that's when Hassan is.
Yeah.
At least I think is Hassan later than that.
Hassan was around that time. It was like 8
Like
or 9, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was a little later.
It
But
might be a little later than that.
I vaguely remember the Hassan thing, but I remember how controversial it was because I've seen like stories about it. It's like, oh, like they did this the same week. Oh, you probably
the
shouldn't
same
do
day,
that.
the
And that's
day
also
of the
social
bombing.
media is the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the same day as the bombing. And it's funny, it's because social media is a lot different today than it was
Yes.
back then. Like
Right.
that was the early days of social media the way we know it today. Those were the early days of Facebook. That's the early days of Twitter. Like this is back when not a lot of people were online just talking about these things. So this was still kind of like offline gossip on, Monday morning on the Today Show type stuff.
Yeah.
For
But at
Muhammad
the same
Hassan.
time, it's yeah. So we talked a bit about earlier about the changing face and heels and faces and what that. The part that I find funny about political angles is, and you both touch on it a little bit, is depending on where a person is how they can be portrayed. There's a wrestler called R.J. Brewer. I don't know if you're familiar with him or not. Big flag waving MAGA character. So
Okay.
in certain parts of the country, he's a huge baby face. In Alabama, they love him.
It's Alabama. They love
Yeah.
their cousin. So
Yeah, but when he works in California or New York or somewhere that's more liberal, he's the most base villain. So, do you think
Nice.
that should be more political, leaning back and forth, or should the character be straightforward, who they are all the time, politically speaking?
no, because it's you play to the crowd that you're at. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're in Alabama or Florida or Texas and those are staunch Republican states, you're gonna be a face there because we're all MAGA 2024, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
The election was stolen, blah blah blah. You go to California or New York or even Washington and Oregon, he's going to be a heel. I mean, even if he comes to the St. Louis area, he's going to be a heel because St. Louis, Missouri is a very red state, with the exception of the Missouri and Kansas City, and I believe there's one other area in Missouri. But if he comes to St. Louis, he's going to be a heel because the St. Louis City people aren't going to take that shit, and
True.
the Kansas City people aren't going to take. And but Missouri is a very red. But if he goes to like Boonville, Missouri, he's gonna be a face because that's MAGA country. I mean, I don't know the politics. I just know that St. Louis and Kansas City are the big two blue bases here in the Missouri area.
Yeah, in the Sea of Red.
In the Sea of Red, and I hate it here because I hate it in Missouri because we are dominated by the red wave.
All right, Mark, go ahead.
I literally went to a show this past weekend for Game Changer Wrestling. And in one of the triple threat matches, they had like a Raging Cajun type character. Okay. I thought it was perfect because in a state like, even though the show was at Pops, Illinois, right? This whole area around here is like he said, like red wave type area, right? A character like that works great. He's getting cheered left and right. They love it, right? He's doing the whole over the top, Southern Dixiecrat, like crazy guy. Perfect. I'm sure as Game Changer goes to different sections of the country, right? A Dallas versus a Seattle or something else, excuse me. That character, it gets viewed a lot of different ways, but it works because no matter where they go, it's going to get eyes. That's what it really comes down to. This is why I was just talking to my mom before I got on the air with you guys. And we were talking about the Donald Trump situation coming up in 2024 because she was specifically asking me a question. And I tried to explain to her, I said, whereas going into 2016, it was, well, he's talking a lot like this and it looks a lot like this. I said, going into 2024, everything is hindsight now. January 6th has already happened. The people forgave him for that. All the lies that he said, they've already forgiven him for that. All these different things that you would have kind of questioned and kind of left up in the air walking into and during his presidential run up until 2020, right? All those things were kind of like, oh, even during the 2020 campaign, like he was still president of the United States. And we were like, there were things that maybe were questionable that he did or didn't do this and the other. Now, as we're walking in 2024, I said, Mom, what used to be all of them going, I really don't know. I'm not sure. Today, walking into 2024 is I'm purposely voting for him because he's an a-hole and he's going to do these things to be a jerk to people. And I can't wait to be behind that. That's literally all the messages now because we have all this hindsight.
I just don't know how you can.
See, he's even grabbing his forehead already off of what I just said. He's like, yeah.
I just don't understand. I mean, how can you blindly go into? I mean, maybe I'm blind by saying, "Hey, I'm blue no matter who," but I just
see, and like that's the thing. It's like I
we took your check mark, bro. Bye.
Yeah, I am unapologetically liberal. I admit that, but I'm not blue no matter who. I've never in my life voted Republican, but I do have a problem with a lot of Democrats myself too. So I mean,
I'm a
pretty moderate person myself. Like I vote both ways.
For president, I voted for Bush the second time. I didn't vote for Bush the first time. I voted for Bush the second time because I'm this whole okay, give him 2 terms, whatever. But I voted for McCain. I voted for McCain over Obama, but I can't vote for right now. I can't vote for any Republicans because they're calling trans people terrorists, and I hate that because I know trans people. I know trans people.
Exactly.
And I also know gay people. I also know bisexual people. I know non-binary people. I know everyone on that the quote unquote alphabet spectrum. But I mean, I just don't know how you could vote for anything like that.
Okay, but
my theme song that I come out to is by a trans person, literally, who changed their sex after they became famous.
Love that song, by the way, too. It's one of my favorites.
But, thank you
very much. But so let's look at Sunny, Tammy Cinch.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of you guys watched Smoky Mountain or OVW back in the day, but one of her first gimmicks was like a Hillary Clinton type of character. And I'm sure you can imagine how well that got over in Kentucky. So
sure, probably not very.
Yeah.
Or she was a massive heel.
She was massive heel. But that's the thing is like Hillary probably is not that well liked anywhere in the country, unfortunately, based upon polling. But just to have, her playing that character, I was like, okay, this is going to work well here, So has any political angle, we'll go to you first, Mark. Has any political angle ever bothered you in wrestling?
Has any political angle ever bothered me in wrestling? What a great question.
That's a good question.
I can't honestly say because, like, once again, I've always said this. I am the perfect person to write a comic book movie about. Just not me personally, but to write a movie about comic books or whatever. Like, you take any story from comic books, turn it into a movie. I'm the perfect person for that because I don't read comic books. So like whatever the story you tell me is, that's the story I get. So when everybody else is like, I hate The Walking Dead, oh, I don't know what that was.
Drive by.
Drive by. No. I'm just saying, like The Walking Dead. I know a lot of friends of mine, big comic book fans. Oh, I hate The Walking Dead. I hate where they went with this story. I'm like, where'd they go with the story? Because it's been great. Like I haven't noticed anything. The first X-Men movie came out. I went to the theater. It was we're walking out. I'm telling my friend how awesome the movie was with Hugh Jackman, right, and Storm and all that, right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone around us walking out is like, so and so shouldn't have played Storm, and Hugh Jackman did blah blah blah, and it's like all this nitpicking. I can't honestly say that there's a pro wrestling angle about politics that has really ever bothered me.
Yeah, it's kind of like baked into the storyline. It's like Masama or the Hassan thing. That was, you knew what you were getting when you were getting it. I mean, right now you're not getting anything like that because, like I said, everyone is too scared to go to step on that plate,
that third rail.
Yeah, you're not going to go out and be like, oh, we're going to call out Donald Trump, and honestly, most wrestlers, I can't say this, there are a lot of wrestlers that work for major companies that are very right leaning. I mean,
okay,
pro wrestling as a business is very right wing leaning. The fans are right wing leaning. A lot of the wrestlers are right wing leaning. I think that the reason there is this is for guys like us, right? The three of us, the type of person we are, the way we vote, mentality wise, this, that, and the other. There is a switch that we can turn on and off.
Yeah.
Like we understand. And it's not saying that the other ones don't, because there are a lot that do. I know a lot of great wrestlers who are Republican, who are conservative mindseted. They're not bad people. I love talking to them and hanging around them and working with them. And it's just what it is. I understand this. I also grew up here in St. Louis, just like you guys did. So I understand what it's like to grow up in a very red state type area.
But it wasn't always that way here. We were
politic with people, I guess, in that.
Yeah. But the only one that's ever.
But my point is on the other. Go ahead.
The only one that ever bothered me, and it wasn't in WWE, it was in TNA. The current Zelina Vega, when she was there, they played up a couple times that her father died in 9/11. And it was like,
see, I don't know if that's a good idea.
No, that's not a good idea at all.
And you're going to tell a dark joke on Netflix?
Yeah.
Fine, that's one thing. To take something like that and play it up.
But it is true. It did happen.
Even if there was value to it, even if it was true.
Yeah.
To even, like, why? There's certain things, like, you don't need to. We all know that Kane did the thing with the dead body the one time. We all know that it did, but we don't have to bring it up.
Yes.
Unless it's like a list specifically designed for that.
Yes, like the worst angles in the history of wrestling.
Exactly. Sure. But my point being, unless that's a list that we should bring something up on, we don't have to bring it up. And I'm sure Glenn doesn't need it brought up over and over either. So.
Yeah, because he has an election coming up again.
And I didn't even realize that Glenn was like that far right on the political spectrum until he started saying these things. I don't look at wrestlers' political affiliations when I watch them wrestle. It's not something I look at. But you look into their. I mean, Chris Jericho. We can talk about Chris Jericho's wife apparently being at 1-6
at Generista, yeah.
And Glenn being a Republican mayor in Knox County, Kentucky, but that doesn't take away from what they've done in the ring.
No.
Right. Well, yeah. No. This doesn't diminish the value of any of these people or their career.
But that is a legitimate question: has the political aspect of the real person behind the character altered how you felt about them, Mark?
Oh, I feel that JBL is JBL. Like, I'm not trying to believe that JBL isn't him. Yeah. That's not a character that he's playing up. Now, he might be sitting at breakfast quietly, eating his eggs and drinking some coffee and reading the newspaper or his phone or whatever. Fine. But I know that that's JBL. Like, this is the dude who will throw that lariat anytime. Anytime on any person. I don't think that it was a character. I think that a lot of the characters that you meet between 97 and 2005, let's say that like 8 to 10 year period there, all of those guys, they tapped into the same thing Stone Cold, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson did, John Cena, Orton, all of them. They're just themselves.
Okay.
They're just themselves turned up to 11, like we like to say. Like they just take their personality and just turn it up.
And JBL's been a regular on Fox Business, not Fox News, but Fox
decade.
Business. Like he's always been that business guy, and I kind of respect that because he's not hiding who he is.
He knows where to draw his line, Chris, right?
Right.
He knows where to draw his line. And that's what I was trying to say earlier. We all kind of know where to draw our lines, and the ones who are good at it know where to draw their lines. I feel like the rest of the individuals that are in the world of professional wrestling, and the reason they lean right, complete disregard for their own bodies.
What about
they're willing to have complete disregard for their own bodies? They're willing to have complete disregard for topics, politics,
and on the opposite side of that, I don't think Brodus Clay or whatever Tyrus is completely being honest. I think he's just using Fox News as a venue to get himself over as NWA champion. He probably believes what he's saying on there, but
he carries the belt onto the the damn TV stage.
The reason he's the champion right now,
right? I mean, wouldn't you say that though, Chris? Like that's the reason. Like you take the belt, you carry it out on TV with you. Now you're in wrestling character mode. And that's how I look at you. So you're obviously promoing everyone.
And Tyrus is a terrible wrestler. One, he's a terrible worker. He's terrible at what he does. He gets blown up 5 minutes into a match. But
I get blown up 5 minutes into a match. Jesus.
Well,
we're all getting older.
Whoa, I mean, I get blown up when I announce people, so I don't get to do the referee thing anymore.
We know what you're getting at.
But Tyrus, he's just there. The only reason they put him on because he's got a big shiny gold belt. I mean, if he had the big shiny gold belt, would he really be on Fox News all the time?
Probably not.
Now that he's been on enough times, they probably have pulled the character in. But you're right. No, you're right. Without the prop to show it off.
But yeah, the question that I really want to get to is like, my opinion of Chris Jericho changed after Donald Trump's election. Mostly because, one, he made a big deal about the 2020 election being delayed. And he was like, this never happened in American history. And it's like, dude, it happened in 2000. We took time to count. It's what happens.
Oh, yeah.
And he kept saying he wasn't political, yet he had Donald Trump Jr. on. He made a $100,000 donation to the Trump campaign. And his wife was at January 6th. So don't tell me you're not political.
Reality.
Overtly political, you know.
And he probably still thinks that the election was stolen, and the election was not. You have to take the time. You have to take the time to count the votes. Yeah. We're in a different world. And we were in 2020. We were in a pandemic.
We probably would have known that night if not for all the mail-in voting. We would have known that night.
Everyone voted. I voted day of.
Yeah, so did I.
But I don't fault anybody. My mom, who is, not well, I got her an absentee ballot, like a mail-in ballot. So she voted by mail.
But those have been existing for years.
Yeah,
like
absentee ballots.
Doing what has always existed anyway.
Because she wouldn't have been able to stand in line for a long time to go into the election. It's just it takes time to count, and we were actively in a pandemic where people were getting sick and people were having to wear masks, and just why don't people understand that?
They don't want to.
Yes.
It's not that they don't. Like I said, the first time around for Donald Trump was plausible deniability. Now that hindsight is 2020 and enough years have passed, January 6th happened. Now you're just a-holes doing it on purpose. Same idea right here, bro.
Yeah.
Same exact idea. It's not that I don't know. It's that I'm choosing to not.
And he still never won the popular vote. Two times he's never won the popular vote. It's the Electoral College.
So I mean, Mark, you and I have actively talked about politics in the locker room.
Sure, of course we have.
And I will admit that we got a couple.
Chris in the locker room about politics.
Yeah, I know. I talked to Chris about.
And there's a certain person, I'm not going to name his name because I
know his name.
I find him I used to enjoy him with his, but the whole Donald Trump thing took him way. It did.
So
I love him, Listen,
Yeah.
I will defend Travis to this day. He has every right to his own political beliefs. I will never take that away from him or any other pro wrestler I've ever worked with. They have every right to believe and to be who they want, even if they're Chris Jericho and we have the January 6th stuff with his wife and all this proof. It doesn't matter. But I will say some people, they just walked out on that pier, man, and they just kept walking.
Travis Cook,
why.
I will say Travis Cook as a wrestling manager, top of the line. Wrestling mind, top of the line.
Sure, for sure.
Politics, when he posted that anyone that voted for Hillary Clinton should take a bullet, no.
He's the one who comes on my show famously and says, Chris, and both Chris's, he says famously on my show, get me the highest tree I can possibly find in a rope for that man. And he was talking about Barack Obama, the president of the United States at the time. At the time.
But that was my question is like, do you ever feel eyes on you or feel like maybe we shouldn't talk about politics in the dressing room? Because I felt eyes on us before, you and I before.
I'm a bigger dude, so I don't really worry about those things too much.
So
but at the same point, I agree with you. Like, the same rules apply in the decorum of a locker room as do when we're at Applebee's or anywhere else, right? Mm-hmm. Certain topics, you probably should avoid them. Don't get into those. And I try to stay away from them. Now, if you and me are talking privately by ourselves over in a corner while we're getting dressed, totally different than if we're standing in the middle of a group of people while they're all doing their thing. And we're obviously being loud about politics and they're being loud about wrestling. Like, that's a completely different viewpoint. But you're right.
No, it would depend a lot. It would depend on the locker room that you're in. Some locker rooms, I'm not worried about it. Some locker rooms, I'm just gonna leave my opinion to the side.
Yeah.
That's just me. I know that certain companies are more accepting of other people, and some may not be, but I'm not worried about it.
I have never been kicked out of a locker room for talking politics. Every promoter I've ever worked with has always been very open-minded, even with Castaldi over at MMWA currently. He is
you've been in a locker room with Travis Cook. I mean,
yeah, sure.
He's
fine in the locker room. He doesn't go out of his way to talk about it. Now he will bring it up. I've watched that happen, and everybody kind of knows Travis for that. But at the same point, it's like, if you just steer clear of it, you can work with it. Listen, there's no room for it in the locker room anyway.
Yeah,
it really is.
You're not there. You're not there for politics. You're there to put on a show for the fans. So
yeah,
exactly.
But if it's talk about the weather or something like that, it is a topic I'm passionate about. So if I see someone that agrees with me, or at least I have no problem having a debate with someone as long as it's friendly. Myself and a few of the wrestlers in the industry locally who I would consider friends don't agree politically. And I know that we could have a civil conversation, at least for a while. So
you end up knowing the people that you can talk to politics about,
yes,
and who you can't talk to politics about. Because there are people on the right that I can talk about politics,
yeah,
and they're not get crazy. But I also know there are people on the right that I can't talk to politics about because they're automatically gonna throw, oh well, Trump, blah blah blah, this and that and that. Okay, and there are also people on the left because I don't lean that far left, and maybe I've gotten a little further left because I'm a boogeyman. I accept the LGBTQIA community, I mean,
let me ask you guys a question. Maybe this is an interesting question I should ask you two real quick. Where do we stand on the idea of, because of politics that has nothing to do with professional wrestling specifically, but because of your political stance, being utilized or being put in a position within the industry as far as your character goes, or what you're doing within the ring and with a promotion, how they might use it against you? Like, I don't know how often that happens. I don't feel that that's ever happened to me.
So you mean
but I'm sure that there are people out there who got political opinions like us.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
So I mean,
they might not have a lot going on behind the scenes. Go ahead.
So essentially what you're saying is somebody being buried for their political beliefs is what you're saying.
Sure. Yeah, okay. Sure.
I haven't seen that.
There. Like, where do we stand? I feel like that's trashy.
I think it could very realistically happen depending on the promotion. if we're talking a promotion that maybe the owner or the top guys are very one way or the other, and you come in being very
Sure.
vocally left or right, yeah, you might not do so well there. But
Yeah, no, I get that.
yeah,
That's why I was
yeah,
just so curious because
yeah.
I don't work with every promotion all the time, so I don't
No,
see everybody all the time.
It's like that Cinco de Mayo festival that I was talking about. They had a shrimp pinata, and they ended up like Adrian Surge said he dedicates his Dynamo title match against Brandon Aaron's to Donald Trump, and it got a massive heat, massive like real heel heat, and when Brandon Aaron's beat him, it was apparently a really loud ovation. I wasn't at that show, but Serge talks about it. He's like, dude, that was like amazing. And when it was completely off the cuff, it was like,
worth it for the moment though, because of literally the topic.
And it was at the time he was talking about building. There was when he very first started about building the wall on the Mexico border.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness! See, that's what I'm saying. It's okay to blur a line as long as it comes in a natural format, in my opinion.
Okay.
Like I don't mind if politics on the national side with a WWE, AEW level company, I would stay in most cases at this point in history, stay away or avoid for the most part, just because it's better across the board for all the generations that you're hitting. Smaller local indies, if it works itself out naturally, like it did for Adrian Surge in that case, run with it. Perfect. Let it happen.
Because it was all because of the pinata. It wasn't like he had this planned. It was rolling with the punches.
And that's the way he said. He's like, I didn't even think about this until I saw the pinata and that they were doing it. I'm like, okay, we want Brandon Aaron's to be like a major baby face. So I'm going to go this way for one show. And, it apparently worked out great. And Surge had security around him the entire show.
All right. So, I mean, my next question is somewhat ties off to that. If there was a character in a wrestling company that was politically aligned with you, so let's say we're in, outstate Missouri where it's very red, and there is a liberal character who's saying all the things we like, as wrestling fans and as wrestling people in the business, do I support that character or do I hate that character because it's being a caricature of what I am and who I am?
No different than if you're wearing a Philadelphia Flyers jersey at a Blues game and you cheer when the Philadelphia Flyers score a goal against the Blues, right?
Exactly.
Now, Chris is not going to cheer for my Philadelphia Flyers.
Well, why? No one should.
When they score a goal, I see your Blues logo right there behind you.
I got my Blues jerseys hanging up in my background.
Yeah,
I'm just doing Letterkenny today.
Okay, it's okay. Yeah,
I actually was going to ask, are you wearing a black? Because it kind of looks like a Blackhawks jersey.
Letterkenny Irish.
Oh, it's Letterkenny. Okay,
yeah. All right, so.
But I don't think there's a problem with that. Yeah. Just cheer for who you cheer for.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
that's the whole point of the show.
Yeah. You're going to like who you like. I mean, my cousin, I know this is not politics based, but one of my cousins, he is a big fan of the Snitch. The Snitch is top heel in Dynamo Pro Wrestling, but he absolutely loves everything that the Snitch does.
So does my son.
So do I tell him, oh no, you can't cheer for him because he's a heel? Mm-hmm. I'm like, I don't care who you cheer for. Cheer for who you want.
My brother told me when I had my match against Shaft that he literally came there solely to drink beer and cheer for every bad guy on the entire roster. He didn't care who they were.
Yeah.
Now, my brother's our age. So, he's telling me that, but I'm just saying, he said, I'm here to have a good time and cheer for every heel. And that's what he did.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
He might not agree with any of them. I don't know, but he cheered for every single heel.
Yeah. You go and you have fun at your show. You like who you like. If you don't necessarily like someone,
you get rid of them. You send them to another team. You send them to Montreal or to the Rangers.
There is a wrestling company. I don't know which one it is, but they have a team. I guess it's semi-political. That is called the KGB. It's a mass tag team, and they're from Mother Russia or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. I could rock with that.
I mean, yeah, but at this point where Russia is invading Ukraine, I mean, that might be the closest thing.
Oh, now that goes back to our earlier conversation, Rodell. Yes. That goes back to okay. should they put that show on? And I feel like I said at the larger level, no. If it's natural on the indie side, fine. You're right. This is, where this is kind of like me shooting the beer cans with the trans person as the background message.
Don't even get me fucking started with that,
because like that idea of that quasi. Should we promote the idea of bombing Ukrainian human beings that might be 16-year-olds trying to do their homework and they're going to die today because Vladimir Putin's an a-hole?
Yeah.
That's kind of what we're talking about. Kid Rock shooting a bunch of beer cans, and now this person might get gay bashed in this other town because that guy just happens to believe in this Facebook feed message that's coming across.
Oh, I don't even want to get started with the beer can thing because I think that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. That people are mad about a beer can that was only sent to this trans woman.
Chris, I can fix all this for you. You want me to fix it? I'll fix America right now. You guys want me to fix America? I fixed it for my friend the other night. I told him I couldn't drink beer with him anymore. Couldn't hang out with him because all beer's gay. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, you drink gay beer. That's what you do. So I don't want to hang out with gay people like you. And he just looked at me and he goes, well, I drink IPAs too. And I said, that's even worse. Are you going to a Mumford & Son concert? Because that's been gay since 2015. Now all your beer gay. Now I'm gay. You're gay. We're all drinking gay beer. We've all reset the game, fixed America. We're back to square one, ladies and gentlemen. Do you see how this all worked out?
The biggest flex is people are like,
whatever you want.
The biggest flex is like people aren't going to drink Bud Light. They're going to go to Coors Light. Coors Light has been sponsoring Pride events since the 80s.
They're all going to do these things because they want to make money.
Yes, exactly.
Everyone cares about money. Oh, I guess Bush and Bud Light don't. Yeah, they do. They do. They just want to make money, and you guys are just taking it way over the top. But guess what? 2 to 3 years will go by and we'll be on social media about our memories, right? They always pop up in Facebook memories and it'll be about the beer cans and we'll be like, remember when this stupidity was going on?
Right, so, yeah, you just said it.
What it'll be.
You just said it, social media. In a day and age where we're not just getting wrestlers, we're not just getting wrestlers on the shows. We pretty much have constant access to them or their media team. And they're being either political or not political, they're being religious, not religious. How much of that has changed the political angles? Because I know that, like, I didn't know, like Rodell said, I didn't know Glenn Jacobs' political leanings until he had a Twitter.
Until he started running, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't know the way that Chris Jericho felt until he had a Twitter. Or the example, Gunner, that was in the Forgotten Sons, put that tweet out about how proud he was to have Trump president during the riots in Minnesota, and that pretty much ended his career.
There's so many people we didn't know about, right? Did you know? Think about this. Before Trump ran for president in 2016, did you realize James Woods was the way he is? There's no one on American soil that knew James Woods was like that. Like no one until he got a hold of Twitter.
Yeah.
And Trump and Elon and all them like pushing that like stupid stuff. And before you know it, this dude's now like screaming some of the crazy stuff. And I'm like, I really like you as an actor, but I cannot stand this.
I didn't even know Travis Cook was right leaning until after the election and stuff like that. I knew he had a political opinion, but I was
now
like,
2013 is when he says his comment about hanging Obama from the tree on my
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Well, you're okay. I'm just saying it was that long ago. It was like 2012, 2013.
So do you think we have more politics in the wrestlers and wrestling because of social media, or do we have just different?
It's a different way to absorb the information because you, as you said, you see them every day. You know, if you see my Twitter feed, occasionally I go after right-wing people for being absolutely the dumbest people in the fucking America. I apologize for my language. I know this is probably a PG podcast.
It's not.
But some people are just dumb. I mean, they say the dumbest things, and I'm like, I don't know.
Hey, don't feel bad, man. I'm called dumb all the time, and I say the dumbest things according to some of these people too.
Yeah, but you know, it's like we're bashing the right a little bit, and you know, again, I'm a guy that leans to the left. I do that quite a bit, but there's plenty to bash on the left side.
Yeah, there's
when it comes from politics and wrestling. You know,
I've always called myself center left because I'm like I'm not like way left wing. You know,
and you're moderate. who likes to lean a little left.
You know, with the gun thing, have your guns. I don't fucking care. It's stupid, you know. But let's.
Can I hip you guys to something real quick? I'm sorry, Chris. This is important. You guys are gonna this? I don't even know if this one caught you yet. Have you seen the new billboards on the side of the highway?
Which one?
Here in the state of Missouri. Have you seen them?
No.
The ones that say, "Don't use your ID to buy another person a gun."
Yeah.
That's literally what the billboard is promoting. Telling people, because it happens so often, stop using your ID to buy some random other person a gun. So the crazy things like we read about every week that we're discussing that are politically motivated, that we're discussing right now, turn into bad moments that we have to discuss on my show or Chris' show or your show the next time.
Guns. We'll talk about guns real quick. Are you surprised there hasn't been like an extreme gun nut character in a mainstream company like that? TNA or AEW, WWE hasn't had some gun toting guy.
With Big Jake Hager or whatever, and what's his
Yeah,
name?
yeah, with Zeb Coulter.
With the
Dutch
Zeb Coulter
Mantel.
character. Oh yeah, they were close.
Yeah,
and
they were
you could
close.
tell that they were purposely doing that. Like it was purposely put together for that.
But I think they toe that line because that's that third rail you don't want to step on because I mean, because at the rate of when mass shootings happen, it seems like there's one every week that we're talking about. I mean,
yeah, it really does feel that way.
And it's sad, but there just needs to be people can have their guns and have, that's not my problem. It's there has to be some kind of a background check. I mean, I can't think of the word I'm thinking of right now. Like
red flags,
red flag laws, and like everyone agrees that there should be some kind of a background check. You don't want nutty people to have a gun.
Of course not.
Yeah. So I mean, at what point were you swept up ever in like the nationalism of it? Were you a big Lex Luger, all Made in the USA fan, or a Hulk Hogan fan, or Slaughter when he was fighting Sheik?
No, because I saw what I saw what it was. It was a character. I mean, maybe I'm smart. Maybe I can't say I'm smarter than the average person
for the most part, right?
Yeah.
All your great Hulk Hogan memories, for the most part,
yes,
or when you're like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old in the mid to late 80s, right? We're not talking like we know about Hollywood Hogan by the time I'm in college and all that. I'm just saying, like, your great Hulk Hogan memories are going to be those old days when you're not paying attention to politics.
I'm sure I dragged my mom and dad to the Lex Express when they came to the South County Mall. And
I did.
There you go.
I got swept up in Hulkamania, and even Lex was never the best wrestler. Neither was Hogan for that matter. But it worked for a while there. That Star Spangled fighting the evil Japanese guy chick. I mean, on the deck of the USF's Intrepid,
and that was
a body slam.
That was a political thing as itself because the evil Japanese, they bombed Pearl Harbor back in the 40s. The evil Japanese. You're gonna slam them on the, like you said, the deck of the USS Intrepid. An all-American moment. I mean,
sure. But you're also dealing with a topic where it's been like 60, 70 years since that had happened. So you can like play with that a little bit more than you can something that's like fresh and current, like your KGB Ukraine stuff that you were talking about.
But time heals all wounds too, because the Iron Sheik, when he made his last few appearances, at least in mainstream WWE stuff, he was cheered. When he won the gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17, even though he was the evil Iranian, they're like, "Oh, I remember the Sheik, yay!"
And you know why he won the gimmick battle royal is
because he couldn't go over the top.
He couldn't go over the top rope without breaking because his knees were shot and he was overweight. So that's why he won. And then Slaughter put him to sleep so they could roll him underneath the bottom rope.
So I mean, but at the same time, look at that. Okay, time healing all wounds. Fritz von Erich was a Nazi, but somehow through the years he becomes the all-American Texas dad of his, proud of his boys and moving on like that. So it's like, how did we get there? How did we go from the evil Nazi to the Texas man with his proud family, Chris?
So I mean, it's crazy. It makes me think, what is the next big political villain going to be? Who are they going? Are they going to use a North Korean? Are they going to use a
Well, I think they're
Russian?
going over the top right now when they went and took Dominic Mysterio, right? One of the biggest one of the biggest storylines currently
Mm-hmm.
is this guy went to prison, like Leavenworth. And we're supposed to believe this. And it's like, okay, I can at least believe that the Sheik comes from the Middle East and he might be representing those people. I can believe that Alex Luger is the all American muscle bound guy along with Hulk Hogan, and they're going to go up against the like Nikolai Volkov. Like, those are easy to believe. This idea that you went and spent time in prison and now you're trying to turn that into my bad guy. You're trying to turn him into my bad guy, that heel that I'm supposed to care about.
But that's not really fair, because that's part of the that's part of the joke. Because everyone that wrestles Dominic says, "Dude, you spent 2 hours in a holding area. You didn't go to prison. Come on."
Right, but if it's always the joke, is it really a joke anymore, or are we just
that's a valid
beating
point.
a dead horse at this point?
All
That's
right.
my question.
All right, so I have 2 more questions for you. We'll go with this one first. When the race of the evil foreign villain is swapped, like in the past, most of the Native Americans were Italian guys, and
Sure.
let me say, Scotty Simpson from Minnesota was Nikita Koloff.
Right.
Can you still do that, or would that be like would that cause too much of a firestorm anymore to have someone play a different ethnicity or race?
Rodell, you want to touch that third rail? Go ahead.
I don't think it mattered. I mean, like you said, Yokozuna played a Yokozuna was Samoan, and he played a Japanese guy. I mean,
but that was also 30 years ago.
Right. They can always argue in hindsight that was okay, but today?
I don't think today that you can, because they're like, there's that line that people don't want to cross anymore.
I mean, we have Simpson's character. I mean, the Hank Azaria stopped voicing Apu because he didn't want to upset people, and he'd been doing it for 28 years.
So, and successfully, like a really popular character, not just some side character that everybody could forget about. Like, no. They did whole episodes about him.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, today we probably couldn't do that, right? There's no way we could have like a white guy playing a Russian
or is
soldier.
Or is the pendulum swinging back? Is it 1, 2, 3 miles?
I don't know.
Going back to big sex here? Are we going back the other way? Like, is this maybe?
Are we overcorrecting?
Maybe the Bud Light cans, maybe the trans cans, maybe what we were talking about with the beer stuff. Slowly, these little topics will pop up over and over and over to the point where, like, I'll tell you this. One thing that we are dealing with as parents of young people at this point in history, and I'm sure you guys have children yourselves, so you might have dealt with this or not. I remember the 90s saying gay a lot as a way to just be dismissive of things that were what we considered dumb or stupid at that time. And it was never an attack on gay people or LGBTQ or anything like that. It was always just a dismissive way. Now, this comes down to 2023. People are a little bit more emotionally intelligent, I guess. So we don't like to be dismissive anymore. At the same point, now saying gay in a dismissive way because of what we were talking about with the beer cans and the families teaching these kids, like, it's rearing its ugly head again. And that could become an issue.
Yeah.
I have a question. Are you ever going to see an angle on TV where someone calls someone let's just say a trans woman? Is someone going to call them out for being a trans woman that they shouldn't be on the women's roster?
That is definitely touching the third rail right
there.
You are asking for an immediate listen. Some of these dudes are canceling themselves simply because text messages are getting out between them and a girl.
Yeah.
I came up and talked to him after a show right now. If you start going down that road.
I don't think you ever will, because I think that's, like you said, that's the dead man switch.
Yeah. If a male member of the AEW roster came out and said that Nia Jax should only wrestle men because they're a man, their career would be over, in my opinion.
Over.
There's no coming back from that. Whether they were told to say it by the company, said it themselves, no, there's no coming back from that whatsoever.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. So my last question before we get all to pimp out ourselves and our stuff, we'll start with you, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Where is the future of political angles in wrestling? Where are we going to go in the next 5, 10, 15 years?
Well, like I said earlier, I think that because the stuff offline,
Hmm.
like, all right, let me just preface it with this. Ladies and gentlemen, as a person who deals with this daily on my Fox News show, I will tell you this: 2024 is going to be a shit show. It is going to
Amen
be
to
a
that.
shit show of epic proportions. So there's nothing that they can write in wrestling right now that they are going to be able to get out from underneath anyway. Because nothing online is going, or nothing on in video, anything that they make up, anything that they do in pro wrestling is not, there's nothing they can mimic offline in the regular real world that's going to be as big a shit show as this 2024 election is going to turn out to be.
They
I'm
I
just
can't
saying.
write.
agree.
They can't write better
I'm not even trying
storylines.
to be fortified.
They can't write better storylines in the WWE than what's going to happen in the political world at the going from now until the election of
Trump versus
2024.
DeSantis alone is going to be amazing.
Yes.
Just watch these two leopards rip each other's faces
But I mean,
off
okay,
for no
so
reason whatsoever.
we got to see, and unfortunately, I got to see it live, the Donald Trump Rosie O'Donnell faux fight that Vince McMahon put on
Sure.
with Ace Steel and I don't know who. Are we going to see another one of those? Are we going to see DeSantis and
No,
Trump?
no, because we
No.
saw
Well,
we
maybe.
saw
Never know.
we saw a Barack and Hillary, if I remember right.
Yes, at Capital Combat.
And we saw a Barack and Hillary type thing. I don't think we're going to do that because Donald Trump is so divisive right now. I think unless you hold it in a certain spot, Donald Trump's going to get
Vince
booed
would invite
incessantly.
him to be there live so he could wave to the crowd more than anything else. Like if there was going to be any political moves right now, it would be utilizing these influential fan bases to their advantage. This is what
Well,
Elon's doing with Twitter right now.
all right,
He's
so
trying to
yeah,
utilize his
and
hold on
influence as a
one second before we go any further. Mark
Sure,
has
you
a
can-
fan watching apparently because
one
Jared says,
fan.
"Woohoo! Loser one, the amazing Gen X icon, and loser two." Thanks for watching, Jared.
Woohoo!
Appreciate you.
Wow, that's well now, Jared, I wouldn't necessarily call the referee Christopher Miles or Christopher Rodell losers per se. I mean, they
Yeah,
don't win a lot, but they're not losers.
I
I wouldn't
declare the
say.
winner quite a bit. I mean, he announces the
Yeah, he
winner.
declares winners,
and,
and Chris is a winner.
and,
He is a
and
big stuff
I'm not gonna lie. I was for Shaft on the match that you guys had for the commission.
Wait, whoa! Stop. First off, you were for Shaft and that cheating loser stuff that I had to deal with. The RKO from behind, then the quick pin from the owner of the company. What is that crap?
I didn't see that part of it, but I was.
Nobody could rewind the tape, I guess, or they couldn't like fast forward to the end of it or something. I guess.
So,
I mean, you've stuck your nose into so many things over the years in wrestling. You probably deserved it, but
maybe I'm just the best at what I do, and there's no one other than maybe another one person ever.
Oh, and here we go again. Jared, they both hate me. See, Mark Rodell has terrible takes.
He's right. He's right.
All right, so I knew I said I only had one more question, but I do have one more that I forgot to talk about a topic.
Just keep going as long as you need to. We're here. We're on the mic. Keep going.
So wrestlers getting into politics. Ventura and Jacobs and Rick Steiner even I don't know how much longer he's going to have his school board seat after what he said.
I still want to know how Ventura won up in Minnesota. I still don't understand.
That's a liberal area up there.
Yeah, and the thing is, he
kind of comes off like us.
He split the vote, is what he did. You only needed 20% or 29% to win, and he got that. Minnesota, and they allow one same-day registration, which I think every state should do.
Yes.
And two, they allow everyone to debate, so people got to hear Ventura, and they like what he had to say.
Not only that, but they've all said up there since, in hindsight, looking back, that he was one of their better governors that they had in the state. And there's not many Minnesotans that are against him.
Yeah.
On like how he handled himself when he was governor. Now, he didn't get reelected, they moved on. But I'm just saying, like, there wasn't a ton of backlash because of his ideas or his policies.
I mean, he's very pro cannabis, and I am for that. I don't smoke the devil's lettuce, the jazz cabbage, whatever you want to call it. But
jazz cabbage. Oh, I like that.
But I don't fault anybody for doing it because it's I mean, it's not bad. I mean, I don't think it's that bad.
No.
Do it. Do it. Make it federally legal and tax the fuck out of it, and you're gonna wipe away the debt.
Here's my thing is like wrestlers in politics. It's like there are some wrestlers that are extremely popular that could not possibly get elected. Ric Flair, for example, with his past and the things he's said and done, even though he's an icon and a legend, I don't think he's electable.
I don't know now, though. I don't know now, Chris. I'm being honest. Like, after Trump in 2016, I don't put it past America to not, like, grab onto the coattails of the Car Shield specialty guy and to just ride it all the way to the bank if they can. Like,
Jerry Lawler ran for mayor of Memphis at one point.
3 times.
I mean, I guess he was a 3-time loser, but
yes.
I mean, but and that surprises me, as popular as Jerry Lawler is in Memphis, that he lost, because I mean,
he got the arrest for the 13-year-old relationship shortly before the election. I mean, there was that the first time around, and people don't forget that.
Quick question: Do you guys want to talk to Hunter Biden's laptop? I mean, I have it right here. It's always sitting in my house at any time.
It's passed around, apparently.
I'm going to put Jared's last comment up that we're doing that. Many wrestlers in politics are iffy, but you see many of them dabble in it. I believe Cody Rhodes said he planned to dabble in it, but you do see many of a successful run as a conservative compared to a liberal, which is disappointing in my personal opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't think a lot of liberals are going to vote for a wrestler. That's very true. Unfortunately.
That's very true. I feel like there are certain wrestlers that probably could pull it off. I don't feel like a John Bradshaw Layfield, a JBL, couldn't pull off becoming the mayor of a town or even working within politics at a higher level. I think he's put himself out there enough times. I think that he's got kind of a reputation.
And he's not dumb either.
I would do it, guys.
Oh, Hunter's laptop.
Hey, what's going on, Chris? Rodell and me. Hunter Biden. Hold on. Oh, what a good line. All right. Oh, hey, I'm back. What's going on, boy?
That's.
I would vote for John Bradshaw Layfield. I would.
God. Geez.
Goodness gracious.
This whole podcast episode.
Man. Hey, you guys got any hookers over there?
Not currently.
Okay. Well, I just love hookers. That's all I'm saying. Well, me and Hunter.
No comment.
All right. So, just to wrap it up here, Mark, where are you going to be at? Where can we find you? Where can we hear you coming up in the next few weeks?
You guys can always find me at theqnow.com, theqnow.com. That's the website for the show. You can always find me every single Saturday, 1 to 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on News Radio KYRO.com.
I was just on.
Yes, you were. You were just on the show.
And, I've never been on.
You can be on the show, Chris. You are more than welcome, Mr. Rodell, to join my show. Listen, any professional wrestler, for the most part, is welcome to come on my show. If there is a problem that I have and I don't want people on my show, I will let them know directly to their face for whatever reason it is. I don't have a problem with that at all. And there have been people I've told that I listen, I've had people come to me and I say, listen, on behalf of someone else. And I was like, I won't do it on behalf of them. You personally are allowed, but on behalf of others, no. Like, I'll be the first to admit that these things have happened. But at the same point, there's always rhyme and reason. And Chris, you are always welcome to come on my show, as I will welcome anybody who's got a political opinion who wants to come and talk about the Jazz Cabin.
I've become very, since 2016 election, I've probably become way too more political than I should be. But, I mean, I guess I'm just opening up myself because I'm getting older, and, the world that I knew is not the same world that it is now.
Oh, that's true. All right, Mark, you want to talk about your socials, any bookings you got coming up?
I don't know about any bookings coming up. I am with MMWA Wrestling as of current. Not really paying attention to some certain things because I'm not happy about my situation. Like last time I was there, I got left out in the middle of the ring to get destroyed by the Brotherhood. My team didn't come to have my back. So I'm not happy with the Brotherhood and Castaldi and them. I'm not happy with the core as it stands currently, but I've talked to some of the core members. We're cool. We're fine. It's just I've decided to step back from the scene for a little bit just to regain some composure and figure some stuff out.
Team Ricky Cruz for life.
Oh, see, he's
Did you
all
just
against
say
you.
Team Ricky Cruz for life?
Love that man. The man is
What
one of my
makes you
favorites.
love him? No. Hold on. Before you get off of here, Mr.
Okay.
Miles, what makes you love Ricky Cruz of all people, Rodell?
He treats me with the utmost respect. We have such great conversations. I love sitting underneath his learning tree for being in the wrestling business for so long.
Got a great RKO.
And a great super kick, a great I mean, he's just a great guy.
A great RKO.
I mean, it did look good. Oh, he's gone.
And honestly, I was scared of him at first, but I became a big fan of the Butcher and Cayman. They're scary characters, but I can dig them.
No comment.
Maybe within the next couple of months or year, Gen X will have someone that has backed them since day one.
Well, I'll tell you this right now, Jared Shannon knows what he's talking about.
Gen X has dropped the ball politically in the world.
I think the Gen X have been quiet politically. Like they're keeping behind the scenes a bit.
And millennials have really dropped the ball because they don't care. It's going to be Gen Z that saves this country. And I believe
we can only hope.
I believe that with all my heart. But anyway,
I think it's because they all held back or dropped the ball. That's why Gen Z is going
to. And they're the first generations that's lived through all those freaking lockdown drills that they have to do. I mean,
right. So Chris, where are you on the internet, and where are you going to see coming up soon?
I am at DJ Big Sexy STL on Twitter, Chris Rodell on Twitter. I don't think I have an Instagram, but I don't know what it is. I'm also a host of the Wrestle Talk podcast every Tuesday from 7 to 9 on WrestleTalkPodcast.com. I've been kind of behind the scenes the last couple of weeks. I'm running the boards and everything.
Supporters.
And I do what I can. I mean, and Dynamo Pro is going to be at the Cinco de Mayo Festival on Saturday, May the 6th at the corner of Cherokee in Iowa, right by the Casa Loma Ballroom is where we're going to be. I don't know what times we're wrestling at, but in past years it's been at like noon and
noon and 2 and 4 and 6 normally was what we would do.
And hopefully pray for a nice day because we don't want anything too hot or too cold. Rain.
So before I let you guys go,
Christopher Miles.
Oh, you guys are, I'm sorry, it's lagging, so it's like it's not.
All right.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mark. You're good. Make your comment.
May 13th, the Tony Costa Memorial Battle Royal, as well as show, South Broadway Athletic Club, 7 p.m. start time. Get your tickets. Go to go search at Google MMWA and Ticket Leap. And
the official Tony Costa Battle Royal.
The only Tony Costa Battle Royal.
So there you go.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and say before we say goodbye for you guys. There's a wonderful Christopher Miles merchandise that Mark you can buy, Chris you can buy, and everyone can buy.
I got this man's merch right here.
2 fantastic T-shirts in the comments there. But Mark, I thank you guys. Chris, thank you. We'll put you guys back into the lobby. We'll be back with you real soon. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Yeah. All right, guys, that was a fun talk. I think we covered a lot of ground. It was great. So, what do you want to hear next? What topic should we cover? What issue of wrestling should we cover? Let me know on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, at 1_2_3 miles, or the show at IWW_podcast. And of course, like I said, buy the shirts. ProWrestlingTees.com/Christopher Miles. So until next time, folks, I'm Christopher Miles, and I have issues with wrestling.